Hey, remember back in '93 when Ryan thought Shockmaster was going to be a future world champion?
The modern day wrestling god! What?
And that's why, Jack, you're so smart.
Now back to Jack and Ryan on the MonsterCast.
First up, well, we got to talk about the man who's been in the news for the last 2 weeks pretty much every day. My boy CM Punk. Not only did he start out the week, no joke, literally after we got off the show last week, I was like, man, I was actually surprised that the show took an hour and 50 minutes, right? Because when we went into it, we're like, man, there's not a lot of stuff that happened this past week. Well, CM Punk decided to say, hey, I got something for you fuckers. Not only did he start off Monday by showing up to the fucking last Raw before the draft backstage in Chicago, he went to talk to Triple H, he talked to The Miz, he talked to, like, by the way, have you ever seen someone who isn't in WWE anymore? Like, we've seen reports on, hey, this person's backstage, right? But have you ever seen a report on, they have a list of everyone they talk to? Like, what? Like, that's insane. Like, you don't need the fucking intricate details that you'd have to have here's a list of every single person CM Punk talked to. Who cares, dude?
Well,
weird.
I mean, that is an interesting part of the story that he talked to.
But it's only interesting because it's CM Punk. That's my point. If Hulk Hogan went back there, or when Bret Hart showed back up, no one's talking about everybody that fucking Bret Hart's talking to backstage.
That's not true. The reason that people focus on it with CM Punk is because CM Punk is such a fucking dickhead that they wanted to know if he talked to people that he was a fucking dickhead to. So if you were to do, let's say, Hogan, you would still want to see if he talked to, like, let's say, any of the fucking African American wrestlers to see if he said anything to them about his problems. But they don't have the list out,
though. No one's sitting back there writing down all the people that Hogan talked to. That's my point.
Because Hogan don't fucking talk to anybody. That's the difference.
Anyway, CM Punk talked to Triple H, they said, for about 9 minutes or some shit. They got the times. Like, this is fucking ridiculous. Buried the hatchet with The Miz, apparently, for the Saudi Arabia comments a few years ago, which I don't think he needs to apologize for, by the way.
No, he was 100% right about that.
I think the Miz tried to hit a home run on somebody and didn't realize who he was fucking with, while also working for a company that is not the company you want to be working for while you're trying to make a statement against somebody that left the company. You know what I'm saying? Like that was just going to be a miss altogether, but it's whatever. He also talked to some of his friends that are still there. Not too many people are still there from when he left, but he did talk to Tamina. I bet he wish he was on SmackDown instead because he could have talked to Kofi, because I know he's big friends with Kofi, obviously. I don't know if he talked to Cody. I don't think he was on the list. But anyway, there was one name omitted that I thought was very interesting, which was Rollins, of course, who was on Raw.
Okay, so I'm sure that if there's people that he's friends with, he still talks to them outside the confines of the WWE locker room and backstage.
Yes, but seeing them in person is different, though. Like, he's probably not seen Kofi in forever.
Maybe, I don't know, but
anyway, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. We'll get to you and your thoughts in a second, because he also showed up in other aspects as well, right? So he also had the meeting with Jericho that we talked about a little bit last week that he was coming up. Well, apparently that meeting took place, and they said that it went fairly well. Not like, it wasn't like people were throwing a party afterwards or anything, but it's amicable, right? So they can work together. They can work together. That's what we were told by, I believe, Fightful is the one that reported that, which reports the most shit that I actually take their word on, right? So that was the reports coming out of that meeting that we had talked about last week. And also, then he showed up at Impact, and he took a picture with Jordan Grace and a couple others, and he was showing up because he was supporting Trinity, because if you looked at Mercedes Moné post about Trinity or whatever, they're in Chicago as well. By the way, Raw was in Chicago, I should point that out. So he didn't have to go very far. He got back in time to do all his fucking NHL playoff updates all over his Instagram. But he went to Impact to see Mercedes and support Trinity as well, which is not shocking because he showed up at Battle in the Valley with Mercedes' first official match or whatever too. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, he's made sure that his name is out there, stayed in the news. Do you think there's an ulterior motive to that? Or do you think he's just, because it was in Chicago, both shows were in Chicago, and he just wanted to go? Because anybody that's ever questioned whether or not, since he's been back, if he still loves wrestling, I feel like maybe he's going out of his way to do this stuff to prove that he does, and that he still does want to wrestle, and that he still does have the itch. Do you think that is part of it, or do you think there's something else going on?
Just from how he's behaved in the past, I'm sure there's a performative aspect to it. And it could also be strategic in the sense of, hey, if I put myself out there enough, then we can make these little hints toward the Saturday show and June 17th and that United Center show and all that stuff. So it's probably both. I'm sure he actually does enjoy the environment and wants to see people and talk to people or whatever, especially having been forced to be away from it for another however long and maybe getting his smile back in the meantime. But other than that, yeah, I'm sure that there's some performative aspect to it where it's like, oh, just so you know, look how much I care about wrestling, and I'm going to go take pictures with people I like. I mean,
It would not feel like this is kind of a perfect storm, though, because both companies just happen to be in Chicago, though? Because if they weren't in Chicago, he wouldn't have gone.
Sure, probably. But that doesn't mean that he still didn't see it as an opportunity in the same way. It's just, I don't have to travel to... I think it's plausible deniability for him. It's like, oh yeah, they were already here and I was in the area because I live in the area, that kind of thing. Whereas he knows that the optics on it, if he had traveled specifically to go to a show outside of an area that he had any reason to be in, then it would be more transparent that he's doing it for performative reasons.
Hey guys, did you like that video? If so, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also catch full episodes of the MonsterCast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And you can also catch us live every Sunday on Twitch. All links in the description below, along with some sweet merch from yours truly, the MonsterCast. Deuces.